Today on the show. Oh, Kevin, I'm so excited. Are you so excited for today's show?
I think I am. Yes.
It's time. It's time for Spempie's Spleen Pod, Kevin.
It's been a while. It's been a long time.
And so let's just start off the dome. Let's be talking. What's your favorite thing about spleen?
About the person's the spleen or the organ.
Well, I don't know about you, but I think of myself as close enough to spleen as to call him spleen as opposed to his more, formal title, the spleen.
Okay. I was always wondering if that was like an official the that was in there or if he just insisted on that himself.
He has really complicated honorific structure. He demands everyone follow.
He does.
So what's your favorite part about spleen?
Um, I just the fact that you don't know what he's going to say next, I think is one of the greatest parts of having him on the show.
Yeah. I I mean, there's so many parts to admire. I didn't even think about that, but it just goes to show how great he is. Wow. Oh, I'm getting a text from Spleen himself. Can you believe this?
Wow. What does it say?
He says we're supposed to do a different show today.
Oh, yeah, I think we were.
What are you talking about? What are you guys talking about? Are you talking to Spleen behind my back?
Well, we in the pre-show meeting when we did the rehearsal, we did have a different opening, yes.
Oh, right. Okay, let me. Okay, he's texting me again. All right. Okay. All right. Today on the show, we talk about the flirty aughts, some dirty thoughts, and some Doctor Bots on Anime Binge Club. Hit the theme.
Why don't you take star? き取ったその世界に何が見えるというんだ狙う前に座りたいな Yeah, 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 why don't you think so 君を探して禁断症状中嘘をついた Why don't you think so 心の声で散弾銃のように歌い続けた Pepe, Pepe, yeah Oh yeah
Man, what a song. Welcome to Anime Binge Club, the only podcast that forces you to listen to me talk about anime, the podcast that forces you to listen to me sing about anime, and the podcast that forces you to listen to me watch as we put up with the many video glitches that show up when we try to play a video of me singing about anime. I'm your host, Spencer, damn motherfucking goddamn piece of shit, stupid moron, fucking stupid idiot, fucking piece of shit, goddamn idiot, stupid fucking Spencer Crittenden. And in the house as well is Am I paused or are you paused, Kevin? Am I muted? Imagine if I was
No.
muted for that whole run. Holy shit! Can you believe that? Um, is Kevin Days with me as well? What's up, Kevin?
Hey, I think that was the sound of this episode and demonetized right there.
Oh yeah. Well, we can't monetize anyway. Kevin was telling us that we're allowed to put this on YouTube with the music, but we're not allowed to monetize, which is great. I never wanted to monetize anyway. I want to monetize on things that don't use copyright infringement. You know, that's legal. Get them in the door with the infringement, and then sell them real products. Right, Kevin.
Exactly. That's business 101 right there.
Oh man, it's been a while, Kevin. It's been a while since Anime Binge Club. We did the first movie of Evangelion, but none of the other movies. But we took a long break, Kevin. I cannot tell you. It's maybe been 3 years since I recorded that intro video.
It does feel like it's been a while. Yes.
It's definitely been 2. It might have been 3. It's crazy. I recorded that video, the FLCL video, so long ago, and now every choice I made. You ever heard the term wabi sabi, Kevin?
Yes.
You know, it's this like term, Japanese term, means like imperfect beauty or something like that, asymmetry. I don't know. It's from King of the Hill. They talk about it in an episode of King of the Hill, but I don't know why I brought
So
that
the
up.
date on that file is August 17th, 25. So not
Say
even
that's
a year
3
ago.
years ago. No, but that's a different version. There's an older version that like that version is, I want to say, like a year later than the first one I sent you. That's when I sent you, after you lost the one I sent you once I finished it. I don't know if you remember that, but there was a point where you lost it.
I do. And I think what happened was I put that in, like, I have a directory for every episode. I think it's in one of the directories and I just haven't figured out which one I put it in.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I just think like, so I think that file is like probably a year newer than like its original predecessor, but I could be wrong about that. It couldn't have been last year though. It couldn't have been.
I don't think so. I think it's longer than that too. I agree.
Yeah. Anyway, Kevin, you got some like bloom on your screen. You like you got some what do you call it? You know, some gravy on the lens sort of thing. Kind of
gravy on the lens.
You kind of got this kind of glowy, kind of soft, gauzy quality.
That's just how I look naturally. You know, like when I walk into a room, this really soft overhead light appears and you hear sort of like bells play and stuff like that. That's just me.
Right. You're nostalgia, right? You're 1980s nostalgia.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know where that's coming from, by the way. I don't know why I'm with that soft focus today.
It's okay. I love it. I love it. We love it. We love to be here. We love Kevin. We didn't do an episode last week, Kevin. It was almost your fault, but it was technically my fault. But I'm going to blame you anyway.
That's okay.
But yeah, no episode. But now there is an episode, and we're actually doing it right now, Kevin. Would you believe that? So it's been a while since we watched anime. Have you watched any anime since then? Have you been exposed to anything weird in Japanese or anything?
Not really, because I've been trying not to watch it so that we can talk about it as I watch it fresh.
Yeah,
so,
you have to try. You're always like, people are trying to demonstrate or display anime to you, and you're like, no, I have a podcast.
Yes. Yeah, I can't ruin this is content. We can't ruin the content.
We really can't. It's sad. And before the show, we were sitting in silence because I don't want to ruin our amazing conversation, the stimulating talk radio that we're about to generate on this podcast for anime live discussion. Kevin, discussing it live, anime. But first, I wanted to talk about some anime that I was watching, if I can remember it, because I watch anime. That's why we're doing the show, Kevin. I've been watching anime. What have I been watching? Frieren. I kind of stopped watching Frieren for a while. I was letting it like build up my backlog, and so now I'm catching up on the second season. It's still really good. It's a show that's like it's very close to a kind of show that I wanted to make when I was younger, where it's just like the pace of it's so slow and nice. It's like you're kind of watching these guys on a journey, but the journey is so slow and plodding, and the stakes are kind of like to their travel, at least. They'll get involved in like mishaps that are like dangerous or whatever, but they're just kind of traveling to the north, and it doesn't matter how long it takes, and there's no ticking clock on it or anything. And it's just nice. They're just kind of strolling through the wilderness, and that kind of vibe is like a really cool thing. But Free Run's awesome. The first season's great. Second season's really good. I don't know which is better. And then I was also watching Daemons of the Shadow Realm, which is by the people who made Full Metal Alchemist, Kevin, which is another really good anime. And yeah, I'm just at the beginning of it, but it's a very classic anime. There's fighting and these like summoned monsters that they use to fight each other, and there's like magic and stuff. I don't know. It's kind of typical anime stuff, but it's great. The character designs are really great. The art is amazing. Just a really good looking show by a really good looking or a hardworking, good, widely acclaimed manga or anime artist or whatever the hell. Awesome stuff. And I'm sure I've watched other stuff too that I can't think of or that's embarrassing to talk about. Kevin, talking about anime is embarrassing, right? Am I right, folks?
I mean, it shouldn't be. You should be allowed to like whatever you like.
Well, that's why you have to leave the house and go to a third location away from your family before you'll podcast and discuss anime, right? Because of how proud you are of your. Well, you're an out and proud anime fan, Kevin.
Exactly. Yeah. No one's going to hold this down. I'm I'm totally in the open of my love of this. Sure.
Yeah, you're pretty open. So yeah, I guess we should talk about it. We probably should have said at the very beginning. We're gonna be talking about episodes 1 and 2 of fucking FLCL season 1 today. Or at least we'll try. I think it'll be easy enough to get through both of these. I don't know. But you texted me. What did you text me? Let's see. There is so much WTF already. That's like 5 minutes into watching this show. That's what you text me. I have absolutely no idea what I just watched. You wrote, "This is how I imagine Abed goes through life."
Do you kind of understand what I mean by that, though? Where like things just happen that just make absolutely no sense, and he's just sort of like, yeah, that's just normal.
Yeah, I also feel like that kind of. There's a couple points in the first episode where there's just like big character-based argument chaos where like kind of the rock music is playing in the background. It's kind of like they're cranking the music and everyone's just yelling, really fast. I kind of feel like Abed kind of creates that vibe a lot of times where like people would be saying something and then Abed would be like, what? And then someone else, I don't know. Like in the very beginning when Haruko shows up and like Mamimi's like kind of she's talking in between stuff that like Haruko's saying, and they're kind of like weird pun-based jokes, I think, or something. That's kind of how Abed is like someone will be like saying something and Abed will just be like on some different tangent, like while they're talking, That was kind of if that's kind of how I was interpreting it. But yeah, a lot of crazy stuff happens when Abed's around. I was just hanging out with Abed today. We went and played Magic the Gathering, folks. Get into it.
Who won? Who's the winner today?
I got destroyed. What are you fucking? So, I know this guy. He got a booster box of Final Fantasy cards, and he was like, "Let's do a booster draft of these." And so we got 4 people, and we did a draft. I got a really good draft deck. It was really consistent, really powerful. Everyone, the whole draft was like, "I don't know what the fuck I'm doing." I'm like, I absolutely know what I'm doing. I have like such a clear like lane to sit in to make the deck that I want. And then like halfway through the draft, one of the guys was like, "Hey, so do you want to, instead of just playing one-on-one, do you want to do a big 4-player game with our draft decks instead?" And I'm like, we're like almost done with the draft, and I already drafted a deck that's like tuned for one-on-one because that's what we were doing. And now you want to do a 4-player game? Like, I'm gonna totally get stomped. But everyone was like, let's do it. So we did it, and then I got a good start because I have a good deck, and then everyone teamed up on me and killed me. Like within it like instance before I could do like much of anything. And then they just like played the game after they killed me. And it's like, what the fuck? It's like I'm the only one who like had a clue and I get completely stomped. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. I did like the draft and I made a good deck and it was fun until I got killed. But it's the problem in multiplayer is it gets political and it's all about perception and I'm not good with perception, Kevin. People's perceptions they overpower my reality very easily. It's tough. Did you ever play like Werewolf or Mafia or anything? You know?
I know I've played at least one game each of those, but I cannot remember how those games work.
Yeah. You're supposed to either try to not get caught or not have other people catch you, basically. And I always die immediately because people are like, Spencer's acting weird. And it's like, I'm always acting weird. That's just normal. And then they're like, that's what a bad guy would say. And then I'm dead. And I'm like, what? Other people, like, when you say stuff like that, they respond and you're just like, oh, whatever. But it's like, what? I can't do anything. Whatever. Anime, Kevin. Well, what'd you think? What'd you think, huh? Well, first two episodes, you're not much of an anime person. What are your hot takes? What do you think?
A lot happened. I was confused a lot, but it was very enjoyable. Like even when I had no idea what was going on, I still was having a great time watching the craziness unfold.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like with Eva, it felt like there was like 100 layers of subtext on everything, where
Mhm.
this was a little bit more what you see is what you get kind of directness. I'm
Yeah.
sure there is some subtext and some things that obviously like you don't pick up when you're first viewing stuff like that, but this didn't feel like afterwards going, okay, I need to watch this for 6 or 7 more times to pick up all the things I missed. This was just a lot of craziness that even the parts that didn't make sense, it was fine that it didn't make sense. That I still sort of understood where the story was going, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. I think yeah, it's a lot more literal. I mean, I think there's some kind of like artsiness or, craft to the, I don't know, symbolism maybe or something. But overall, it's not like they're not really trying anything crazy. I'd say it's really modern. I guess Ava's kind of modern in a way too. But I also was in the first couple of episodes. You can see a lot of shared DNA in the action between the Eva show, and there's this one spin kick that the robot does that I think is like I saw that exact spin kick like the Eva do it, and I think that spin kick is like actually ripped from Kamen Rider, who is like a superhero guy. Um, so yeah, it's really stylish. I don't know, it's cool to see how far the studio had come from Evangelion, to like how far their craft and the animation had come to be able to make this stuff. There's those shots that they got to be CG, the kind of Matrix moving camera shot, and then they're also just playing with the format. They're like stretching the medium a lot and playing with it a lot, it all feels very kind of meta and modern. You got to understand, Kevin, this was 2003. This comes out on Adult Swim. I'm like just about to go to high school or like just starting high school. I watch a lot of cartoons. I've maybe seen a tiny, tiny bit of anime. But you watch something like this and you're like, what the fuck is going on? It's crazy. It's weird. The voice acting is kind of in this pocket where it's likable and interesting, but it's also kind of a bit like, ironic a little bit in like kitschy the way the it's like this old era of not the modern voice actors, but when the voice actors are all just kind of like random middle-aged people, just random American people that like fell into it somehow. The voices, I like the voices a lot, but they have this kind of like cringy quality sometimes on some of the line reads. I don't know. But just rewatching it, there's so many quotes from these first two episodes, at least, that just were like, they were so stuck in my head and they brought me back. And I don't know, it just like really brought me back to like being a kid, and it connected with me strongly, even, all this time later. And, it also feels kind of dated, like, what do you call it? Like the manic pixie dream girl kind of thing seems to be a big influence here for both Haruko and Mamimi. And so that, like, I don't know, but anime still does stuff like that. That's kind of like maybe weird gender politics or whatever. But yeah, I don't know. Really crazy show. It's an iconic anime for a lot of people. But you wanna talk about the first episode? Do you have any other thoughts? I feel like I talked a lot just then.
No, I like that it felt very meta to me, kind of like it was very genre savvy, almost like it was poking fun at some of the tropes of anime a little bit.
Definitely, yeah.
Where the kind of annoying voices, to me, that almost felt like they were just doing an impression of an annoying anime voice on purpose. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that was the sort of the feeling that I got, was like, when they were breaking the fourth wall, they were doing some very blatant, we're going to screw with the format of this and not care. But some of the more subtle things, I still felt like that was sort of maybe just leaning on what anime is a little bit and making fun of it. Not making fun of it, but I guess like, just playing with the medium.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, that's the thing. It has this kind of like punk rock vibe to it, and they have like the soundtrack is largely populated by this group called the Pillows, which I don't know if they're classified as punk, but they kind of have this kind of like punky feel to them for sure. And it's about adolescence. I mean, that's maybe a little bit of a spoiler. It's not like it gets way more deep than that, but it's about this kid who's like 12 years old or something, and so he's kind of like dealing with his feelings towards women and stuff, and that's kind of what it's about. But I don't know, it's cool. I'm kind of just talking in circles here. Any big things you liked from the first episode? Any things that you found confusing?
I mean, all of it was confusing.
Yeah, it just throws a ton of stuff at you.
It does, and it's not always clear, I guess, what was literally happening and what was kind of like through their eyes, what they were imagining was happening. I can't really point to any specific thing that made me feel like there was like an unreliable narrator happening, but it felt like there was one kind of a little bit, in that you couldn't really trust that what you were seeing was what actually happened because it was through the view of the character that was imperfect and that kind of thing. Maybe.
Yeah, I think it's more just that like it's like Looney Tunes or whatever, where reality itself is kind of malleable and not real, Do you like the camera move there?
That was really dramatic. I had to stop and watch where you're going with that. That was really good.
I'd like you to have a seat over there.
Yeah, no, I guess I would love to hear you go through kind of like the plot line of this and see how much of it I picked up on as being the actual plot and or not.
Yeah, well, like a lot happens and also nothing happens. But yeah, let's go through the first episode. So the basic summary of the episode is we're introduced to Naota and his life, his friends, his family, his school, etc., his town. And his life is interrupted by the arrival of Haruko, who is a self-professed alien, who is doing weird stuff, who's just kind of like, just appears one day in town and just is now living with him. And she hits him. And after their encounter, like weird shit starts happening. Like a robot shows up and there's this giant robot fight. And then, the robot fight ends. So it's like this alien lady shows up, or a lady that calls herself an alien. And she shows up and a robot fight breaks out, basically. That's kind of the loose plot. But yeah, let's start at the beginning. We see Mamimi and Naota at the river. They're talking about baseball. Mamimi's kind of fooling around with him and he's not into it. Her first name, or is it her family name? I think her family name is maybe Samaji and her first name is Mamimi. His first name's Naota and it's like Endaban is his last name, something like that. I don't know. And it's really important that we get this all correct, because no one can look this up.
It will be a test at the end.
Yeah, but she's like fooling around with him. There's the shot of her like boobs pressing into his back, and that's like this classic kind of like horny kind of anime trope. Um, it's kind of also like they're by the river, which is like this classic anime location. It's like this liminal space that in like indicates feelings of being outcast, not fitting in with society, counterculture, teenage isolation, not knowing, like, society not knowing what to do with you as a teenager, like a lot of these ideas, but also adolescence, striking out, like being places with girls, asking out women. There's a lot of this stuff in like the trope space of that like location. It's also kind of like a liminal location. So I think that kind of like adds to these kind of adolescent things. That's kind of the first stuff we're seeing, is this kind of like, I don't know that sexual tension is the right word, but this energy between Mamimi and Naota, and she's driving it, and you kind of get the sense that he's uncomfortable about it, which, in today's 2026 light, is that like she's like, molesting him or whatever, and he doesn't know how to handle it or whatever. I don't think the Japanese author's take is supposed to be that. I think he's like a bit immature and doesn't know how to handle more mature feelings that are being pushed onto him by this girl, and are maybe related to his brother somehow. I don't have it in my notes that he mentions his brother yet, but I think there's a point. Oh yeah, it's just a bit later. And so then it starts. And then we have it gets kind of this again. It feels like a kind of like manic pixie dream girl thing, like Garden State stuff, where she's like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna overflow if I don't do this stuff with you, and he's like, what's gonna happen? And she's like, probably something amazing, and they kind of fall into the grass. It's I don't know, it's kind of fun. It definitely brings me back, but it kind of feels like, oh, it's kind of, I don't know, feels a little bit like twee or something. I don't know, looking back on it, but still, I think it's still pretty cool. And then he's like, nothing amazing happens. He talks about the medical mechanica building or whatever, or we see it maybe, I don't know. And it's this big iron. And that's kind of the first shot. It's just setting us up. It's like this kind of teen romance, weird kind of stuff. And that's like the first sequence. You have any thoughts on that?
No, it all of this around here felt, this plus what the rest of the episode, I think too, felt very dreamlike to me a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. And also
like
more
stuff
serious.
Just happens, and like you jump from one time to the next, and then like a character that like shouldn't, the pink-haired woman suddenly is their housekeeper, which sounds like something that would happen in a dream. Like this random person, the stranger that you meet, you go home and they're suddenly there, and they suddenly live with you and stuff. All of it felt very dreamlike to me around here.
Yeah, and the way the scenes kind of flow into each other and move around and stop and start, and how the dialogue between across scenes can kind of happen, it gives you that kind of like sense that like reality is weird, but it's all happening. But also it's like nothing happens in most of the scenes, but also a bunch of shit's happening all the time. It's like it's definitely like a bunch of weird shit. It's dreamy is a good way to put it. It's not something I was thinking about, but yeah. So then we're following Mamimi and Naota, and we see this is the first introduction to Haruko. She's watching them with binoculars. They're selecting drinks. This is more like teen romance stuff. Is she picks the drink. She's offering it to him. He like looks at her lips and looks at the open drink, and the reference is like this trope called the indirect kiss. The idea if you drink something after a girl is drink it, you're kind of kissing her in a way, and that's like a thing that anime is about. So that's kind of I don't know if he says indirect kiss or not, but that's definitely like what they're playing with. And then there's this really quick flash of this letter that's on the floor or something right when he's thinking about that, and then he says like my brother or something like that. It's like a reference to her brother. And so he's thinking about that. She throws him, or he throws the can that she offers him, like rejecting again, this kind of like adult, relational bid, maybe emotional bid. And she calls him Chief at this point. I was trying to track. Does she call him Chief sometimes and different names other times? But in the beginning, she calls him Chief. Haruko shows up. Yeah, so Haruko shows up, and the animation starts getting crazy. She runs him over. He's almost dead. She's like making crazy jokes and stuff. Everybody's going insane, and Mamimi's making jokes and taking pictures. Um, yeah, she revives him by giving him CPR, and then she hits him in the head with a guitar and tries to shake him. Like she starts shaking him out, but nothing happens. And then she eventually leads. And he's like left with a bump on his head. Like it cuts to like later. He's like later at night, he's at home and he has this giant lump, like something is coming out of his skull, like a big horn or something. Yeah, and then we hear that this Vespa woman is like a rumor at school. People have heard about her. They're like, she sold a super spicy curry bread. And then one of the girls is like, super spicy. And that's like one of those lines that just stuck in my head, like ever since I was a kid. Like why is someone questioning that the curry bread is super spicy? I don't know. I just like, to me, it's like, it sounds like why is that? Why are you leaving that detail in the story? Like why is the story that like this mystery woman stole the super spicy? It's like she stole my sandwich. Like don't say like holy shit, she stole my Philly cheesesteak sandwich with aged Gouda and caramelized onions. Like why are you talking? You know, I don't know. It's just like this really weird little off remark, but they're kind of teasing him because he has this band-aid on his head to hide the horn, because he has this giant horn coming out of his head, but he can push it back in his skull, which again is like, what is reality? What does it mean? Like, what is happening here? Is it like Looney Tunes where, you know, you push the lump down and it comes out the other side of your head or whatever, you know? But yeah, it's fun. Like, you know, it's already so early into the episode, just like crazy shit's happening. You're having so much fun. They do that when she's giving him CPR, they do that CGI scene. And like we were talking about, they cut to like the trailer where Haruko's talking about how doing this shot is really hard because you have to hold your breath. And then like Naota's like, wait, I thought that was special effects. What are you talking about? And then it's like, what is this, a behind the scene? I don't think they do that joke. I'm not sure, but I don't think they do that joke at any other point in the rest of the first season or probably the whole series. But it's like, they just do that one-off joke. Like that would be a good joke to keep coming back to too. But I don't think they do it again. It's just really funny out of nowhere. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? Man, it rocks. So that's that sequence. Is he has this bump. He hears that there's rumors of the lady, you know, so there's not a lot of beats. Haruko shows up. He's got a bump on his head. People notice the bump on his head. There's development. Then he goes to the doctor to get his bump checked out. And it turns out Haruko's there, and she has held the doctor's hostage and is disguised as a doctor to see what's going on with his head. And she starts chasing him around. He runs away. He goes home. He gets a call from Mamimi saying like, hey, what are you doing? You want to hang out? And he's like, hey, go bother someone else or whatever. And he says, I dreamed of my brother. I was dazzled by his swing. It was impossible that anything can be so perfect. So you get the idea. He's kind of like looking up to his brother. And that's why he's feeling conflicted about like Mamimi on some level. Next morning, Haruko's at breakfast. And this whole thing is done in this like panel manga style, which is awesome. Thing to note, Kevin, the anime came out like 3 years or 5 years actually before the manga did. So it's not like they actually used manga panels to like draw those animes. They did that well before the manga existed, and then the manga was just something else entirely. So all of that was drawn for the anime, which is interesting because sometimes they do bits like that in anime, but usually what they do is they just reproduce the manga drawings, you know, because they just have them on hand. Yeah, so it's this really crazy fun scene where Haruko's living with them. Naota's dad got run over by her, and like as a way of apologizing, she's like, "I'm gonna live here," and she's like, "Oh, I already know Naota," and then she mentions that he was making out with Mamimi, and they're like, "Oh, Mamimi, she's trouble." They mention that like you know, she's like a troubled kid or whatever, and I don't know, she's maybe like I think the grandpa said she's like sexual like a weasel or something, you know, she does it like a weasel or something like that. And it kind of like launches into this thing where his dad is obsessed with the fact that his son's becoming a man. He keeps using the word fulikuli. Fulikuli is like a word that I believe it's like a sound effect word, kind of like badump or something, you know, but it's a word word that references the sound you make when you're fondling titties. I think that's what furry curry means. I think so. It's like if he made a show called like Fondling Titties or something like that. It's something like that. And so that's what they're going back and forth about, and they're talking around it. And the dad's saying, "I don't know what it means." The kid's like, now it is like, "I don't know what the fuck it means." And the grandpa's like, "It's like this. It's like this. You see," and he's doing like all these titty kind of groping kind of hand motions the whole time, but no one's actually saying it. And then Haruko's like, "Yeah, me and Naota do that." And they're like, "What the fuck?" And his dad goes nuts. And yeah, it's just this crazy scene. But, it makes Naota suspicious because it's like, what is this lady? She's following me around. She's living in my house, yeah. Then the next shot is, one of the things this family says is your brother's away, so she's sinking her fangs into you, referring to Mamimi, saying that like Mamimi is interested in him because his brother's gone. And so that's kind of what we're setting the table there, because there's like, something with the brother, and now it's he's gone. Anyway, let's see. So this is a pretty short shot, but he's taking a bath, and we're overhearing Haruko talking to his dad and grandpa, and like she's making weird like moaning sounds. So you're not sure what they're doing, if they're like fooling around or whatever. It's not super long of a bit, and you can kind of miss it if you catch it, but like we're listening to him taking a bath while he's like overhearing weird sex stuff coming from his like family, which is weird. And then he goes back into his room, and she's in his room, and she's talking to some mysterious person. She's talking about medical mechanica, and he's like, "What's your deal?" And she's like, "What's your deal? What's under your band-aid?" And he's like, "You know what's under my band-aid." And she's like, "Show me," I don't know. She's kind of flirty with him, and he's like, you're just messing with my head. We find out that, his brother's in America. But yeah, it's a big theme that he's uncomfortable around women. He goes downstairs. He talks to his dad. He finds out that Mamimi came by. She brought cheap bread. And so he runs after her, and Haruko's like, he's going to be okay. And so I don't really get what the emotional subtext there is. It's like, oh no, she buys day old bread. She must be in a bad way, and she must need rescuing in some way or whatever. But we're kind of like supposed to interpret that as like, oh wow, he's such a good guy that he's going after her for some reason. It's really, to me, pretty unclear why he does that. Any thoughts there? Or I've been kind of barreling through. Any thoughts to anything up till this point?
No, that stood out to me as being a little strange too. I just thought that was maybe some Japanese culture that I was not picking up on of what that meant. But yeah, I agree that felt weird.
Yeah, I think the thing is, if he knows Mamimi, he should know what her family's deal is, if she's poor or whatever. So like the idea that like, holy shit, this is something I got to do something about is like a really weird thing. Maybe other than she came by and left, and he's like, oh shit, like I wanted to talk to her and I didn't get a chance to. Maybe like boy feelings for a girl. Maybe it's something like that I could buy. Or he just did it for no reason. He's like, what the fuck? I gotta do it or what? I don't know. But I don't know. And then there's also the Haruko thing. Maybe if Haruko's over, he's like, what did my dad tell her? Maybe I have to go explain, who knows? There's a lot of possible reasons, I guess. But yeah, then one of the next shots that we see is Mamimi smoking the cigarette. It says never knows best. That's like one of the more iconic things in all of anime, I would say, is that like bent cigarette that says never knows best. Who knows what the fuck that means? It sounds cool though, But yeah, let's see. He's talking to her. He's asking her if his brother contacted her. It suggests that he hasn't contacted her, and he asks what she thinks of him. And he's like, oh yeah, I like your brother more than stale bread or more than watermelon. And, I don't know. And then he's like, why are you messing around with me like this? And then he breaks the news to her that he has his brother has an American girlfriend, and she kind of has an episode. She freaks out. She says she's overflowing. And then that caused him to freak out. He has this crazy weird headache thing, and a giant robot explodes out of his head. We also see the medical mechanica alerts start going off. Their sirens start going off, indicating that this could be related. But yeah, a robot comes out of his head, and the robot's fighting a giant big hand. And so it's just this big fight sequence, ultimately what happens is the robot smashes the hand, and then Haruko hits the robot in the back of the head and knocks it out. Then we cut to the next morning, and the robot is baking bread in the house, and Haruko's like bossing it around. She's like, "You call that bread?" And it's like, "Yeah, this is great." And Mamimi is back with Naota, and she offers him the same drink, and this time he takes it and he drinks it down. And it's like, oh wait, you know, he's kind of learned to face Mamimi on some level. He ran after her now. He protects her from the robot at some point, I think, or maybe that's the second episode. I think maybe in the second episode he protects her from the robot. I don't know, but yeah, and then he drinks the drink that he threw away before, and so that's. I think it also means he's kind of like coming to terms on some level with the fact that his brother's gone. I don't know. It's like that's got to be something that we're grappling with. You know, like him feeling like the shadow of his brother, the loss of his brother, not knowing, like not having positive male adult role models, something like that. You know, it's like that's something that I don't know that we're tracking super clearly, but it's always in the air in this show, you know. But so that's that episode. That making sense? Any questions?
No, again, it all felt very dreamlike to me. That's why I kept feeling like the entire thing was just like stuff just you suddenly would fast forward in time and the same characters would be there, but in a completely different situation. And that's really how it felt through a lot of that. But I really enjoyed this. It was crazy, but I really enjoyed this episode.
Yeah, because like the reality and stuff is all loose and strange. And the shoe leather is all kind of like it almost happens in the background, or it's all happens really fast or is visual. And then a lot of what we spend time in is more emotional stuff and jokes and comedy. And so it makes it like so like a lot of what is happening in the useful action is really mushy and vague because it's just like adolescent feelings that are kind of conveyed through looks and grunts kind of on some level, you know, but then like what's actually happening is a bunch of crazy stuff that at least in this episode is really unexplained. It doesn't all get super explained, but it all kind of like there's like a coherent theory that like it hints out. It's not like this is definitely what's happening, but it's like it all kind of pieces together. But yeah, yeah, dreamy and stuff. I don't know, just a good episode. Then it gets into the ending sequence, which is what our opening sequence is for the show, which you can watch on video, youtube.com, not monetized. Watch the demonetized video. See the video I made 3 years ago, perhaps. But yeah, I don't know. Really, really iconic anime, iconic episode. Great episode. That might be the best episode of the show. I don't know. Like I haven't watched it in a while. Second episode was great too, though. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know, you guys. We'll get through this. We'll get through this together. I don't know that I like the way I talk about anime. I feel like I just run through like line by line the action, and I don't know that that's like the way that anime podcasts talk about. Like I don't know that that's the way people talk about stuff. You know, I don't know.
Does it matter? I mean, like
It matters.
I think you should just do your own thing and not worry about how other podcasts do this.
But I want to do a good job, and no one likes what I do. Have you thought about that, Kevin?
I think you're the only one who doesn't like what you do. So
Nope.
Have you thought about that?
I've thought about it, but I asked other people and they're like, no, I also don't like what you do. And I was like, see, I know, I told you. They're like, what? All right, episode 2, Kevin. The opening shot is a fire at night. Mamimi's talking about how she saw God the other day. The God helped the kitten. And it's unclear what this refers to. At first, I was like, is that when she passed out and the robot came out of Naota? Is that what she saw and thought was the dark god? And maybe it is, but I don't think it's clear that that's necessarily what she was talking about, because it seems like what she saw was the robot literally rescuing that cat that she has later in the episode, you know, but I don't know. Anyway, so she's playing a game about fires. Naota shows up. Let's see. Why does it... Then we're at school. We see like Nina or something like we see Nina Mori. Nina Mori is kind of like the class president, and she's kind of like being cold. She's not very nice. I think she's like one of these tsundere tropes or whatever. But yeah, we find out now his head's empty. Like we see like an X-ray that Haruko takes an X-ray of his head using the robot. And she's like, he could do this because he's a medical mechanic robot. They make medical equipment. That's why this is like a medical equipment robot. But it's not clear like what his deal is or why he came out of Naota's head. Let's see. Now he's got a new horn sticking out. This one's bigger. He asks what her deal is, and she's like, my deal is I'm a first-class space patrol officer. It's not clear what she's saying. It's not clear if she's telling the truth. She's kind of like a liar, you know? She's like a tricksy kind of like a coyote figure, like a Loki kind of trickster figure. So yeah, who knows if she's telling the truth. But yeah. Then there's like a whole sequence that I think it sets up the idea that like Naota's not happy about them using the robot in the house because it's suspicious. They're like, people are going to see the robot. And then they're just like, you see a bunch of people watching the robot, just taking boxes in from the car. Then he's like explaining why he doesn't like it. And then his dad starts this long diatribe where he's like, so there's a robot in the house. Think about the symbolism involved, and starts explaining why having a robot in the house is like interesting symbolism to consider from like a narrative perspective. And he goes on for a while. And then I think Haruko's like, what's he talking about? And he's like, this guy wrote a whole book on the deep mysteries of Eva. And so it's like implying his dad is like an Evangelion nerd, which I think is cool. And then what? We find out that she named the cat Takun. Mamimi named the cat Takun. He brings her shoes. She's like in the rain, and she's playing her game. Then we cut to Haruko's crash. She crashes her Vespa into Medical Mechanica, and the guard's staring up at her skirt. And Naota shows up, and he's like, the guards are like, this isn't a place for kids. And Haruko's like, this isn't a place for people to work. And so it seems like she's investigating Medical Mechanica. That's one of the only things we really know about her, is like she's kind of interested in what's going on there. Yeah. He met like, they're like, what are you doing here, kid? And then Haruko's like, this is my guardian. You probably wouldn't, it doesn't make sense. It's like, it doesn't make sense. Like you wouldn't believe it, but this guy's actually my legal guardian. And then Naota's like, yeah, it's like a crazy circumstance. It's a weird, but it's just like it's funny that she's like, yeah, I'm like a ward of the state. And he's like, yeah, it's tough being me. I'm a kid who has to take care of this like lady, you know? And it's just, I don't know. Both of their line reads I thought were pretty funny. What else? One of the things is she's trying to fix her bike. I think, I don't know. She's kind of just watching her bike while the guy is like staring up her skirt. But to me, you kind of get like the idea is she like doing this on purpose? Is she trying to manipulate him or something or not? Because it seems like she messes with guys as like part of her like vibe. It's just like a femme fatale, maybe. I don't know, whatever. But she pulls a box out of her bag. She pulls like a box and opens the box, and she shakes out like an action figure. It's like a robot, like a Gundam toy. She pulls it out of a box, and then she like smashes it into her bike and uses it to fix her bike. And like the head of the Gundam turns into a screw that she like wrenches into the bike. And it's just like, I guess that's dreamlike too. Now you mention it, Kevin. But it's like, what is reality? Go ahead, Kevin.
So that was the exact moment where I'm like, okay, this has to all be a dream, because this is how a dream feels. Like you're holding something and it just turns into the thing that you want, and then it merges into something else. And yeah, it all felt very dreamy.
Yeah, definitely. It's very trippy and strange. And also, did the robot come back yet? No, not yet. Okay. Yeah. And so then we cut to Mamimi. She's kind of out, in the area that she hangs out in. She sees the robot. The robot's like checking out a burnt building, and then it kind of flies up into the sky and flies away. And she thinks it's Lord Conti, who's like the god from the video game she's playing. Then we cut to Naota is fighting and biking, or she's biking, or Naota's biking with Haruko, and they're fighting, they're arguing, and like she like moves the like scooter around, and like he goes flying, and like his head goes into her crotch, and then that's that whole scene. It's just they're like briefly arguing, and his head goes into her crotch. That's like the whole sequence, and it's like why were we watching this? It's not clear. And this just said my head was empty. Oh yeah, then like that's that sequence. It's pretty short, and then he has this kind of like voiceover line where he's like, "Back in those days, maybe my head was really empty or whatever." It doesn't really mean anything. It seems kind of stupid. I felt like that doesn't really hold up that much. But but yeah, they're back at home. They're talking about the robot. They're like Haruko's like, "Oh, I saw it at the convenience store. I was reading a Hustler," which I think is funny. They mentioned that Mamimi used to date Naota's brother. The robot flies in. It touches down. It looks like this giant alien with all these really impressive light effects. Like when it appears, it has all these like bright glowing like bloom effects and stuff. And they're seeing it crash land. And it just has like 2 bags of groceries. And what else? Then it gives them the groceries, and both Haruko and the grandpa like insult the robot. Then we're with the students. They're crawling around the burnt ruins. They're like, "Oh, it was arson. Someone burnt down this building or whatever." And we see that the robot's watching them as they're going through the ruins. Then we see Mamimi is in the river. It looked like someone probably threw her in the river, and they mentioned that she was being bullied. So now this poor girl is being bullied regularly. And you see her kind of like looking really like she looks dead. She has like a dead look in her eyes when she's kind of like drying off in the river. And then we cut to he's just following her. It's nighttime now. It was like midday, and we cut to it's nighttime, and now he's following her at night, and she's like dragging a baseball bat or something. It's not clear, but he's following her around. She drops her Game Boy, and he sees that like a video game called Firestarter is being played, and he starts talking about Firestarter, and he starts connecting the dots. It's like, oh shit, Firestarter and arson and Firestarter, and Mamimi is crazy and she's weird, and he's putting it together. We cut to Haruko's also talking about her investigation to that same person she was communicating with before. Then we cut back. Naota sees a fire by the river, but like he was just following her, and now we cut to a whole different location, and the fire's really far away. And I think we're meant to believe that she started the fire, but it's like, how does she get over there? And then he goes and finds her in a completely different place where she didn't start the fire, and it's like I think we're supposed to believe she started the fire, but it's like, it doesn't, but this is what I mean, Kevin. It's like the what we're meant to believe happens, it's not really there. It's just like what the dialogue is telling us what happens, but kind of clashes with the actual action and what we see. She's doing a crazy person fire ritual. She has lighters taped to her head. She has cigarettes standing in a circle around her, and she's praying to Lord Conti. Then the robot shows up. It flies down, and she tries to kiss it. And we cut to her lips again. We got all these the past 2 episodes. We see all these cuts to her lips, and Naota has kind of like embarrassed, kind of horny reactions or whatever. And then he gets a headache, and a giant robot comes out. And so now in the first episode, they were talking about his brother, and Mamimi kind of has this crazy reaction, but it's unclear what it is. But now it's like, is the reaction related to all this stuff? Is she somehow supernatural in some way? But also it seems related to big feelings, because he brings up the fact that his brother has a girlfriend in America, and then she starts going crazy, and then a robot comes out of his head. And now he sees her kissing the robot, and then a robot comes out of his head. So it's like, is this circumstance, is it somehow connected to like big feelings or something? I don't know. Giant robot comes out. The robot, it has this kind of thing where it kind of pulls itself out of the hole in his head, and then it like flings. It's like it's now his hole is like wrapped around its finger, and so it like flings him off of it. I don't know. Just visually, it looks really cool. I don't know. There's a big fight, This robot is missing its hand. So like it's maybe missing the hand that was in the last episode. So maybe that robot was fighting our robot, who is, I guess we'll start calling our robot Conti now, because he usually gets referred to as Conti from here on out. But so now Conti is fighting the big robot, and it was maybe fighting it in the last episode and ripped off its hand before, it burst through Naota's head. But yeah, they fight. Naota saves Mamimi from like some rubble or something. Conti shows up. Conti eats Naota and turns super powered. Haruko's bracelet starts reacting. She has this bracelet that has like this squared like chain link on it that kind of like rattles sometimes, and it starts doing that. It's just a cool prop, very cool. Haruko has such a cool costume, but it's hard to cosplay because her like red jacket shit. Like most of the cosplay versions, her like, red jacket look like shit. Anyway, unrelated. But yeah, it turns into a giant howitzer. It shoots the robot, and then it like sucks the bullet it shoots back into itself. Haruko hits the robot with a guitar. Conti shits Naota out, and she's like, "Wow, you stink. You smell like shit." And then they defeat the robot. And then he's like, "It was that in that moment I realized, I decided I would stay by Mamimi's side forever." And that's the end of the episode. And it's like, okay, whatever. He's being more active. He chooses to try and save Mamimi. He's chasing after her. He's seeing what she's really like, and he's being like, yeah, she really needs people looking out for him. Maybe this is kind of what my brother was doing, maybe looking out for this girl. The thing is, he's 12, right? Mamimi's 16. So it's weird that she's fucking with him. But her brother is like 23, I think. So it's also weird that he was fucking with her. That's like arguably maybe more weird. But so that's like a weird dynamic. And also weird to believe they were actually dating. Like you might want to think that maybe Mamimi's just like an obsessed weird girl who is constantly following her around or whatever. And maybe he was just like putting up with her, but it's not clear. But the grandpa certainly thinks they were dating. So I don't know. It's not clear what their relationships are, but that's that episode. You have any thoughts?
I mean, at the end of the first episode, I kind of felt like I understood what was going on, kind of like it didn't make sense, but it made sense that it didn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of this one, I felt like I even knew less of what was going on.
Yeah.
This one seemed more out in left field a little bit.
Yeah, I think it kind of, you talked about dream logic. It also feels like there's an extent to which the show is operating on kind of like music video logic, where it's just like a lot of visuals and then kind of like you cut to aftermath of shit. And it's like, well, wait, how did A plus B equal C? That's like, what are you talking about? I showed you A and B and now C's happening, didn't it? What do you mean what happened? Those things happened and now we're here. And then they said what just happened and that's what happened. What do you mean that doesn't make sense? They said it. That's what happened. Believe it, And it's like, I guess, but it succeeds so much on art and style and vibes and stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good show. I don't know. What I'm trying to say is we made that video 3 years ago, and now when we re-listen to it, we rewatch it, and I listen to my vocal takes and stuff. All the wabi sabi. Remember the beginning of the episode when I mentioned wabi sabi? All the wabi sabi. I was like, when I was cutting it and recording it, I was like, oh, I like how this sounds. And listening back to it, it's like all those just sound shit. It sounds bad. All the choices I made were terrible choices. They're terrible mistakes. I never should have thought they were good. I never should have done this. I should not be podcasting. I'm a stupid fucking piece of shit. More fucking piece of shit. God damn it. Fuck. But yeah. So we're going to get through the other episodes of the first season of FLCL. Maybe we'll do the other ones. There's technically 5 seasons. There's this one, there's 2 more 6-episode seasons, and then there's 2 more 3-episode seasons. Most people widely hate the other seasons, but they're just different. Like this show is so stylish and singular this season that when they made more and they're like, this is FLCL, and people are like, this is something different. They're like, how dare you? But it's like, it's different. It can't all be the same. It can't all be your childhood or your adolescence. But yeah. What else do we say about FLCL? I'm pretty sure FLCL was meant to be kind of incoherent and not very serious. I think it was made a good deal after Evangelion, but I think it kind of stands in contrast to Evangelion as a show that's not really supposed to be dwelt on, not really supposed to be dug into and analyzed for symbols. Like, I think you can do that, but I don't know that they're satisfying answers because it's just a bunch of crazy shit's happening and it's crazy and he's horny or whatever, like that's kind of what's about. The guy, he was talking about how it's not meant to be understood, the director who made it. Like it's about vibes. They wanted it to be a really modern show. And I think it feels modern. It has the soundtrack, the messing with the form, the irony, the meta-ness, the genre parody. What a show, Kevin! What a show!
This seems more accessible than Evo. Like
Oh yeah.
I didn't watch this episode and go, wow, I need like an hour to unpack this and rewatch it again and then decide how I feel about it. This is more just enjoyable insanity.
Yeah, it's in your face, it's splashy, it's blasting, it's really funny, it's really silly, it's really visually stunning. The music is great. Pillows is a really great band. I don't know. So uh we want to get into the One Piece, but where were we in One Piece, Kevin? Maybe I have to re-summarize all of One Piece.
Oh
All right.
no.
So first Luffy, he was a pirate. I don't know. I don't. Did we beat Arlong Park? Did we get through Arlong Park when we talked about? I think that's where we were last time, Kevin. Is that like?
Sounds familiar, but again, all of it sounds like you're just making this up as you say it.
Yeah. Ugh. Making it up, Kevin. What I was watching earlier is Rent a Girlfriend. That's an anime, and that anime sucks. I mean, it's fine, but it sucks. It's about a guy who's like, it's like a romantic comedy. It's about a guy who's dating a rental girlfriend or trying to. And it's bad. But one of the reasons it's bad is because they set up like a drama, like something dramatic happens, and then like there's like 7 minutes of the guy just being like, "Oh no, a dramatic thing happened. This is ruining my life. What do I do? I could do something, but that wouldn't work. I could do something else. Oh no, I'm screwed. But wait, oh no." And it's just like he's just going back and forth. And it's like every episode, there's like two sequences of that. And it's just like, just get through it. Just tell me what happens. Don't just be like, oh no. It's rough.
But the
It's
voice
rough.
adds so much to that.
Yeah. That's how he sounds too. He's like an old timey radio announcer. The main character is an old timey radio announcer. That's a big part of the plot. I was watching this other show. Oh, Classroom of the Elite is another show I'm watching. It's this now. This is a classic anime formula. It's a school, but it's really intense and crazy in a high stakes sort of way, and also kind of sensual as well. And one of the students, he's so cool and elite that he can handle all the problems that the elite sexy school throws at him because he's the smartest person who's ever graced the planet, and he could solve bullets with his mind. That's right, he solved all bullets with his mind. Bullets are no longer problems because they have been solved with his mind. But a lot of anime is like this. It's fun. And this one, I don't know. It's kind of down the pipe. A lot of times it's like we're battle school, and each classroom moves around and it sticks to another classroom, and then the door opens up and the students have to run out and fight each other with tables and chairs from the classroom. And it's like that's the gimmick. It's like they're fighting with tables and chairs. But this one's just like you have to do good on the test. And also the test has hidden political dynamics, so you could screw someone over unless they do good on the test. And it's like, okay, so everyone's like, we got to do good on the test. But wait, what if there's a trick in the test? We need a strategy for the test. Our strategy is working for the test, but there's a trick in the test. Our strategy didn't plan for the trick in the test. I have a trick for the test. The trick saved the test. You did the test. I did the test. I can't believe the smartest guy in the school did the test. I did the test, but did people know I was smart? Because one of my goals is people not knowing I'm the smartest guy in the school, even when I do the tests. Yeah, I guess it was fine. Until next time, and it's just that's always happening, and then it's great. It's great. I've talked about this so many times, Kevin, but anime is not afraid to have no tension by way of the structure of the show is that the protagonist has no trouble the whole time. And it's great. It's like, there goes the strongest man in the world. They say he's nothing he can lift up. But what about that big rock that's in the middle of the road? Surely he can't lift that. Oh man, he lifted it. Okay. But what about that even bigger rock that's 5 feet away? He can't lift that one, can he? Oh, he did. Okay. It's like, I mean, it's good. It's good television. You gotta watch more anime, Kevin. We gotta hang out and only watch anime and always be talking about it and always be recording 24/7. What do you think about that?
I think that's very smart. I think I should come back to LA and we should just do like an anime weekend.
Anime weekend. That's what we were gonna do. Remember, I wanted to
I
watch all
know.
these in a run, which is fine. I don't know. I don't know that this matters. That's all. I don't know that this matters. End of. I guess we could go home.
Okay, then we're done.
Hey guys, I don't know that this mattered, so we're gonna we're gonna bounce. I'm trying to see if we have any anime related questions, but I don't. Um. Okay, well, let's read a not anime related question. Did I
Okay.
talk about how I cut my thumb open?
You told me, but I don't think we talked about it on the show.
I cut my thumb open on the podcast. I did it live on the podcast. That's why we didn't have an episode. We had to delete it for legal reasons. I cut my thumb open yesterday while I was cooking. I had to go to the ER. I don't think I had to go on the ER, but when you're looking at a big bleeding cut wound, you don't want to be like, well, let's just see what happens. I was like, I'll go to the ER and then see what happens. And if I feel better, I can leave. But yeah. Anyway, let's do an a non-anime anime question. Thanks for checking out Anime Binge Club, folks. Come back. I don't know. I guess we'll probably do a normal episode next time. Anyway, David writes, "Hey everyone, it's David, the narratology studier again. In a recent episode, Spencer mentioned an aside CPTSD. I was wondering if he'd heard of / read Pete Walker's Complex PTSD book. I've been trying to see if the diagnosis fits myself for around a year, and I found the book to be somewhat useful, but I struggle with one of the proposed key aspects, summoning protective anger. Loosely, the idea is that by finding the anger within yourself, which you had to learn to suppress or was suppressed as a child, you can utilize it to power your sense of dignity, appropriate entitlement, and self-defense. I was wondering if this resonates with either of you, an inability to become angry or becoming angry for reasons you can't understand. Thanks again." I was thinking about this recently, is that I don't get angry on my own behalf very often unless I'm getting angry at myself. Um, like when I'm at work and shitty things happen, I see people getting mad and like yelling or acting out in anger or being like, "No, well, this is not gonna. You gotta do something about this." And if it was me, I'd be like, "Yeah, I mean, what do you? Of course, everything sucks. You think you're gonna get away with something? Like, come on, And so I think that that's kind of what he's talking about, is the idea that you're so not willing to put up a fight for yourself that when you suffer what you might call an injustice, you go like, of course, as opposed to, hey, someone just like wiped, like they blew their nose and wiped it in my shirt. It's like I've been disrespected. Like I should have the healthy boundaries to be able to react with anger to being disrespected in that way. And that sounds like what is being described here. I think that's something, yeah, like I was thinking about reasonably. And I'll get mad when I can complain to someone else. But if it's something that I just have to take, then it's just like, yeah, of course. What else am I expect? I'm never going to like really argue that I don't deserve shit rolling downhill, But thanks for the question, David, the narratology studier. What a narrative that David has spun, wouldn't you say?
Agreed. Yes, that was a fantastic narrative.
What was his name? David? David.
Yeah.
David spins another narrative on the Sunday World Wide Web. I'm Spencer Crittenden, Kevin's house. That's right, Kevin. I'm in your house now. And you're not even in your house, so you can't fact check this.
No, I have no way of knowing where you are right now.
You want to leave early, Kevin? You think we earned it?
I mean, we could have a skip day, sure.
We've earned we can leave early. Do we need to give you more time to set up the rest of the queue?
I just got to push a button. That's fine.
Kevin just has to push a button. And okay, so we like to end the show the same way we do every time. So until next time, it's time for another lesson with Spenpie. Hey kids, did you know that Spleen is so dreamy when he talks? Goodbye.